By the time most people turn 70, they've quietly accepted something as inevitable: misplaced keys, forgotten names, that word sitting right on the tip of the tongue and refusing to come out. Doctors call it normal aging, but in one country, something strange keeps showing up in longevity research. Spain, particularly its rural south, keeps producing elders in their 80s and 90s who still remember faces, stories, and conversations with startling clarity. The reason isn't a supplement or a secret. It's a set of ordinary daily habits most of us gave up decades ago. Forgetfulness after 50 is often blamed entirely on age, but researchers at institutions like Harvard Medical School point to something else: chronic inflammation, poor blood flow to the brain, and long stretches of mental understimulation. In much of Spain, the afternoon meal is still treated as sacred. Families sit down together, not for 10 rushed minutes, but for an hour or more. That unhurried socializing does something modern life rarely allows. It forces the brain to constantly track conversation, humor, memory, and emotion all at once, a workout neuroscientists now believe may help preserve cognitive sharpness. Then there's the food itself. The Mediterranean diet, studied for decades by organizations including the National Institutes of Health, isn't a diet in the dieting sense at all. It's olive oil instead of butter, fish 2 or 3 times a week, fistfuls of walnuts and almonds, tomatoes, greens, and bread that hasn't been stripped of its fiber. This pattern of eating has been linked to slower cognitive decline and better blood vessel health, which matters because a brain fed by healthy, flexible blood vessels simply receives more oxygen and nutrients than one starved by years of processed food. But something else happens in Spanish towns that rarely gets mentioned in nutrition articles: the sheer amount of walking. Errands aren't driven to. Groceries are bought fresh, almost daily, from a market a few blocks away. Elders in blue zones research, including the Spanish region of Icaria's Mediterranean neighbors, log thousands of steps without ever stepping foot in a gym. This kind of movement isn't exhausting. It's woven into the day so seamlessly that it never feels like exercise. Yet it's been associated with better balance, stronger legs, and reduced risk of the kind of falls that so often mark the beginning of decline in older adults. If you're enjoying these healthy living ideas, subscribe, because the next habit actually surprises many longevity researchers themselves. There's also the matter of rest, and not the kind found in a bedroom. The traditional Spanish siesta has been mocked for years as laziness, but sleep scientists see it differently now. A short midday rest, even 15 or 20 minutes, appears to lower stress hormones and give the brain a chance to consolidate the morning's information. Chronic stress, on the other hand, has been associated with shrinking areas of the brain tied directly to memory. By splitting the day into 2 mentally fresh halves, instead of one long grinding stretch, many older Spaniards may be unknowingly protecting the very organ everyone else is trying to fix with pills. Social connection plays an outsized role too, and Spain builds it into daily architecture rather than leaving it to chance. Plazas fill every evening with people of every age simply talking. Elders aren't tucked away in isolation. They're visible, included, and needed. Loneliness has increasingly been linked by researchers, including teams affiliated with the World Health Organization, to faster cognitive decline in older adults. A 90-year-old who still argues about football scores with neighbors every evening is quietly doing something that no crossword puzzle can fully replace. Even something as simple as sunlight plays its part. Spanish elders spend far more time outdoors than most retirees in colder, indoor-oriented countries. Natural light exposure helps regulate circadian rhythm, which in turn affects sleep quality. And poor sleep has repeatedly been connected to problems with memory consolidation. It's a quiet chain reaction. More sun, better sleep, sharper recall, and very little of it requires any conscious effort once the habit is in place. None of this means Spain has found a cure for memory loss, and no honest documentary would ever claim that. What the research actually suggests is something far more encouraging: that consistent, unremarkable daily choices, repeated for decades, can support a brain that ages more gracefully than expected. It isn't one dramatic intervention. It's slow meals eaten with people you love, food that feeds blood vessels instead of clogging them, walking that doesn't feel like walking, rest that isn't wasted time, and evenings spent in the company of others instead of a screen. The lesson isn't to move to Spain. It's to notice which of these habits already fit into a life and which ones have quietly disappeared from it. Maybe it's a walk after dinner instead of the couch. Maybe it's calling a friend instead of scrolling. Maybe it's simply eating slower, with better company. and letting a meal last as long as it used to. Small habits, repeated daily, tend to outlast the ambitious changes that burn out after a few weeks. If even one of these ideas finds its way into a Tuesday afternoon, that's enough of a start. And if today's habits from Spain caught your attention, the next country on this channel might just surprise you even more.